afternoon, everyone. We're live today at Sakra World Hospital, Bangalore. This is Deepthi, and we have with us Dr. Anand Mamdapur, who's a head of critical care department at Sakra World Hospital. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Deepthi.
Today, we will be discussing about the various fungi, and then it is the black fungus, white fungus, and yellow fungus.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the FB live session. Today, I am going to discuss about the black fungus, white fungus, and yellow fungus. As you all know, right now we are all struggling with the second deadly pandemic wave of COVID-19. Adding fuel to this deadly pandemic, one more problem has arisen, that is fungal infection. It is commonly labeled as the black fungus. The actual terminology is mucormycosis. Actually speaking, there is a misnomer. Unfortunately and unnecessarily, all these fungi have been given some colors. There is no scientific rationale behind this. My urge to the community is, do not worry about the black or white or yellow color. These are all fungal infections. Unfortunately, at an alarming numbers right now.
Yes.
At this point of time, we have around 11,000 cases of mucormycosis in our country, which used to be extremely uncommon before the onset of pandemic. So this is a sort of a fungal infection. Normally, we are all surrounded by this fungal force. These fungi are commonly found in the air, what you are breathing right now. It's found in the soil. It is found in the dead decaying matter. It is found in the construction sites. So it is ubiquitous everywhere. Only when our defense system, our immune system get compromised, then only these fungal infections come into the picture. That is unfortunately happening at an alarming rate and causing lot of public health compromise. So I will discuss about the white fungus and yellow fungus, but at the outset, I would like to make clear that in medical textbooks, there is nothing like white fungus, yellow fungus, or black fungus.
Okay.
It is unnecessarily the name given, fancy, colorful names. Tomorrow, we should not be coming with a violet fungus, we should not be coming with a pink fungus like that. Okay? It is a misnomer. Do not get carried away with the color of the fungus. What actually fungus? What is the name of the fungus? Because everybody has a name and everybody has to have a name. You have a name, I have a name, a fungus also has to have a name. It should not be just labeled as one colorful fungus.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's a misnomer. Do not get carried away with these colorful names given to this fungi.
So we will be discussing some points about the fungi today and the diagnosis and treatment. So the first question, what is black fungus?
Yes, black fungus is basically a mucormycosis. It is called as mucormycosis in the medical terminology. It is a fungus which is usually uncommon. Before the onset of second deadly wave of pandemic, it used to be common only in people who have a very uncontrolled diabetes, who sometimes get admitted with a complication of diabetes, what is called as ketoacidosis, wherein there is a lot of acid formation in our body, and people who are immunocompromised. Immunocompromised means their defense mechanism, defense system, immune system is weak. Only in those situations, these fungal infections come into the play. By rule of thumb, it applies to almost every fungal infection, not necessarily mucormycosis. Usually, all these fungal infections happen only when our defense mechanism is compromised. The same is the case with the mucormycosis. When our defense mechanism is compromised because of poorly controlled diabetes, use of steroids, these infections are quite common. These infections were there before the onset of pandemic also in these subset of people, but the numbers were very less. Now, almost 11,000 cases of mucormycosis we are seeing in our country. Before pointing to the fingers towards diabetes, towards steroids, and so many other possibilities which is being right now circulated in the media, let us ask ourselves and try to answer why it is happening in the second wave itself.
And so significantly.
so significantly in alarming huge numbers. And why it did not happen in the first wave? In the first wave also we had COVID. In the first wave also people were treated with steroids. In the first wave also there are diabetic people. But why it did not bite us in the first wave and why it is biting us so badly in the second wave? That is the question that we need to answer. So for all those things, probably my personal opinion is somewhere somehow the virus itself in the second wave is the primary culprit.
Okay.
That primary culprit is making the ground fertile for all the associated factors like sugar, steroids and so many other things which we will discuss, that they predispose all our population to this deadly fungal infection. So let us think and focus and point our fingers first to the virus, then to all the theories which are circulating right now.
Is there a specific reason for the significant increase in the numbers, sir?
One is our numbers are also only first of all huge. It's not that this extensive numbers of mucormycosis is in our own country. It is there in the Western world as well.
Okay.
But the numbers are significantly less. They are facing different sets of fungal infections in this pandemic of COVID-19. The Indian numbers are approximately 70% of the whole world numbers. And out of those numbers, nearly 90 to 94% are having diabetes. Out of that, nearly 67 to 70% have a poor control of diabetes. So the predominant reason for this is one, huge amount of numbers, deadly COVID pandemic coronavirus, maybe mutated virus, that is creating a fertile ground. On the background of this, the poor control of diabetes is the one which is the main culprit right now. The second main culprit is steroids, because steroids have been in use in this second wave more frequently and in more numbers as compared to the first wave. Having said that, it is not completely right to blame the steroids completely, because steroid is a very, very important armamentarium in medical science. Without steroid, probably the medical science is incomplete. You name an organ, that organ has certain sets of diseases for which steroid is the mainstay of treatment. Some cancers, cancer chemotherapy, those departments, they cannot run without steroids. You name an organ, you name a kidney, you name the lung, you name skin, any organ, there are certain sets of diseases, they invariably need steroids. But only thing is how judiciously you use in the present pandemic, that is very important. Usually, use the steroids in the second pandemic, do not use it beyond 10 days. Use it for first 5 days, reduce the dose and get rid of the steroids by 10 days. Some people do believe that the COVID has badly affected the lung. For the lung recovery, maybe a small dose of steroids may be required for a little bit longer period of time. But my request to everyone would be that do not use steroids beyond 10 days. Beyond 10 days in the COVID situation, it is probably not going to help you. On the contrary, it can make the things more worse. Okay. So judicious use of steroids is very, very important. Do not use at an unnecessary higher dose at unnecessary prolonged period of time. Because when we were struggling to find one magical medication during the first wave of COVID, there are so many researches happening, so many things were happening across the globe. Scientists, everybody was searching for one good molecule, and which came as steroid. It was the first medication to reduce the death rate in hospitalized patients who require oxygen or who require some form of ventilator support. And it was the cheapest, easily available medication, having had enormous periods of decades of experience of having used steroids. There are so many medications which have come into the practice only in COVID. We never had experience with that.
Correct.
But steroid was there, we had experience of decades of using steroids. So let us not forget the usefulness of steroid in COVID-19, but at the same time, do not misuse it to create a situation of having more complications than that.
So how about antibiotics? Are they a culprit too?
By and large, just like steroids, inappropriate use of antibiotics is one of the reasons for new rise in fungal infections. Just like which applies to steroids, which I just now explained, antibiotics also should be used judiciously, cautiously. See, normally we use antibiotics for 5 to 7 days. Beyond that, just like steroids, beyond 10 days, beyond that, sometimes can be harmful. That may be the culprit for growth of fungi, because these fungi are commonly found everywhere and they are commonly found in our own body, in our own normal person. The fungi, particularly what we call as candida, they are commonly present in our throat, our mouth, our intestines. They are normally present. Whenever you use the antibiotics which kills these normal organisms in that becomes a stimulus for this fungus.
So they activate.
Yes, that make our defense system normal protective mechanisms. Those barriers are broken, leading to activation in the fungal infection.
Okay.
So, as important as the steroids, inappropriate prolonged use of antibiotics is also one of the risk factors for, in general, fungal infections on the rise.
So there are many reports which states that industrial oxygen may be the culprit. What's your view on that?
See, it is very, very, very easy to blame one particular thing. But at the same time, do not forget the fact that it is the industry which came for our rescue when we were in need for oxygen. People were dying without oxygen, and the industry has come for our help to supply oxygen. Having said that, we are seeing the mucormycosis cases in people who were at home isolation for COVID, who did not receive steroids, who were not diabetics, who did not receive any industrial oxygen also. How can we explain that why these people got mucormycosis?
Absolutely.
So, in that context, with respect to industrial oxygen, only one point that could be one of the possible reasons, it's all a theory, not proven, that hygiene. The hygiene applies to COVID as a whole and to all these fungal infections in particular. Probably the COVID has taught us to be how hygienic we should be. We were never so hygienic in the past before the onset of COVID pandemic. Right now, we are washing our hands 10 to 20 times in a day. We are washing our vegetables. We are even washing our milk packets also.
Absolutely.
We were never so hygienic. One possible theory could be that during the production, during the transport to the respective hospitals, if there is a contamination or if there is a poor hygiene, that could trigger, because these fungal infections are to be considered with utmost hygienic conditions. Whenever our hygiene goes for a toss, especially in all these humidifiers wherein a water which is unsterile water is used, wherever there is a compromise in the hygiene, like a soiled linen in the hospital, poor dirty conditions, a dead hygienic material, or rotten vegetables in our house. So it is everything to do with the hygiene. Whenever a hygiene is compromised, not only with industrial oxygen, even at our home and at our hospital, a compromised linen, non-hygienic linen, that can also be the culprit. So it is incorrect from our side for the industry, which has helped us with oxygen, to blame that it is the culprit. But the theory is going on, but it is not proven.
So they may be the medium.
Possible.
So what is the role of iron and zinc?
Right. See, as I told you, whenever a diabetic patient is admitted with that complication of acids in the body, that sugar at one hand, acid medium on the other hand, is a very, very fertile field for the fungus to grow. Similarly, the fungus gets easily, whenever any organism affects our body, it needs one receptor, it needs one nidus to get attached and get engulfed in our cells. So, iron acts as one of the important mediator wherein the fungus can easily get attached and come inside our cells. Okay. So, in COVID second pandemic, we do a lot of what are called as inflammatory parameters. One of them is ferritin, means iron. Whenever there is an inflammation, infection is different from inflammation. Whenever there is an inflammation, there are certain inflammatory mediators in our body which get increased. And there is a possible theory that the fungus gets attached to this higher iron content in our body because of this inflammation, and that may be one of the theories for higher fungal infections. Having said that, the caveat for this is, you take any inflammatory reaction, any inflammatory condition in the body, these inflammatory parameters are always on the higher side.
Okay.
Probably you are right now studying them more because of the pandemic. There are certain inflammatory parameters, they are called ESR, CRP, ferritin, they are naturally there. It is a natural human body reaction to an inflammation. So those things are elevated, not only in COVID, in non-COVID conditions also. Whether they are the culprit, whether the fungus gets an easy way, easy access to our body, that is difficult to say. The same holds good for the zinc also. Zinc is also probably one of the media through which the fungus can easily enter. And there was a previous theory that zinc is helpful in fighting this.
Correct.
But in this context, it is very, very difficult to prove, as at the same time disprove. But the fact is, one, the virus itself, second is diabetes, third is steroids. These three things are very, very important, and we have to be very, very cautious about that. So other theories are just theories and they're not proven.
There are a lot of people who continue taking zinc and vitamins in today's scenario. So,
Right.
do you advise that we should stop taking these zinc supplements, or?
That is very difficult to say. One thing is sure, that vitamin C and vitamin D, they are important. Okay, we should supplement the people and the COVID patients with vitamin C and vitamin D. Whether the zinc is going to benefit the COVID or harm with respect to mucormycosis, that is difficult to say.
Difficult to say. Okay.
As of right now, there is no evidence to say that you have to use zinc, or there is no evidence to say, no, that's the other side, that you, no, don't use zinc. So there is no evidence.
So what is black mold?
Yes, this is also one sort of fungus which is commonly seen in fruits, vegetables. You can see in our refrigerators also, especially old decayed fruits, onions, on which a black fungus is visible. Okay, please do not confuse this with mucormycosis. Is one more entity called aspergillosis. Aspergillus niger, to be more specific, is the fungus behind this. It is not the same as mucormycosis. Anything which is black should not be labeled as mucormycosis at this point of time, unless you consult your physician and that patient is being evaluated for mucormycosis. Having said that, you should not ignore also, because mucormycosis is a rapidly spreading disease. It is lethal. You should diagnose it very early and treat it very aggressively and very early, because it just keeps on biting your tissues.
Okay.
It invades the blood vessels, and whatever comes on its way, it just goes on destroying. And this destroyed dead tissue has a black color on which this name has come. So it is very, very lethal. So diagnosing early and treating it early is very important, but at the same time, to get panicky that every black thing is mucor is probably not right.
So why is there an increase in mucormycosis cases in India compared to the rest of the world?
As I told you, our numbers of COVID itself are very high as compared to the Western countries. Second thing is, the most important risk factor for mucormycosis is diabetes. And our country is the diabetes capital of the world.
Yes.
We have the highest number of diabetic patients. So that is the probable reason for the large number of cases what we are seeing. The Western countries, if you compare the statistics with our country, with a Western country, like if you compare with an Australia, so we have around 14 cases of mucormycosis for every lakh population. They have about 0.06 per lakh. Okay, their numbers are quite low. And having said that, are they not dealing with fungal infections with COVID? Yes, they are also dealing. They are probably not dealing with this mucormycosis. They are probably dealing with other fungal infections like a Candida infection and Aspergillus infection, which have been wrongly labeled as white and yellow in our country. So those infections are there. As I told you, all these infections do not affect a common man. A healthy person, unlike a COVID affects a healthy person. However healthy you are, however young you are, however fit you are a marathon runner, it doesn't care. But fungal infections are not like that, especially mycor. It bites you only if your immune system is compromised.
Okay. So what are the signs and symptoms of black fungus?
Okay. So people who are suffering from COVID or people who are recovering from COVID, so they should keep certain things in their mind and they should daily look either at the home or in the hospital. The medical fraternity, the doctors and nurses should look for. What is most important is nasal congestion,
Okay.
nasal discharge, nasal stuffiness, some black discharge coming from the nose or some black spots coming at the bridge of the nose, eyes are red, eyes are swollen, there is a painful eye, one half of the face is swollen, you have a headache, you have fits and further problems with disease. These are the most important signs on which patient, family as well as the medical fraternity should be cautious in early identifying all these things and symptoms.
What are the diagnosis of black fungus?
Basically, whenever there is a discharge like this, we get what is called as a swab or a KOH mount, what we call as. We get a scrapings. That is a most simplest way. Or we also do endoscopy, what we call as FES, and we get a proper tissue for a microbial diagnosis. And sometimes you also, whenever they go for surgery, we get a biopsy from the tissue.
Okay.
That tissue is examined under a microscope to get the proper diagnosis. Okay. So swab, smear and biopsy and endoscopic samples are the requisite to make the diagnosis of mycor.
And how do we treat black fungus?
Yes. Treatment does not involve one particular department here. It is a multidisciplinary department which treats a mucormycosis fungal patient. Most important, we as intensive care physicians are there. Along with that, more important are ENT surgeons, ENT physicians, infection control like microbiologists or infectious disease specialists, surgeons. All these people, are very important in treating mucormycosis because it involves two aspects of treatment. One is surgery because it rapidly causes a dead tissue, and unless you remove this dead tissue surgically, whatever you do will probably not effective. You have to treat it very aggressively and remove that part. A dead part, suppose this finger is gangrenous or dead, you have to remove it to prevent the spread of this gangrene to the other parts of the body. Suppose this part of the body is affected with the mucor, this body has to just come out.
Can't we retain and treat?
You have to have either one organ or you have to have one life.
Oh my God.
So you have to choose life. Suppose this part is affected, this has to come out. Suppose the eyes are affected, unfortunately eyes have to come out to save the life. Otherwise, if you want to compromise with this, try to retain both, try to make a balancing act, it will not going to work. If you want to save the eye, this eye from the eye, it will rapidly spread to the brain.
Okay.
And it invariably, if it is not done, invariably it leads to death. So, even though these things are important from all the angles, social angle, financial angle, from all the angles this is important, cosmetic angle, you have to remove the part which is dead, which is affected by this fungus in order to save the life. Along with this, you have to give medications, that is antifungal medication, what is called as amphotericin B. So that medication has to be combined along with this. Either medication alone or surgery alone is not sufficient. It has to be combined, joint effort by the surgical team, joint effort by the medical team, and this antifungal medication has to go for good 3 to 6 weeks. It is not like a routine antibiotic we use for 3 to 5 days or 5 to 7 days, no. It has to go for good 3 to 6 weeks to attain some benefit, to see some response. Otherwise, if you do not treat it either medically or surgically, it is going to be invariably fatal. In spite of the treatment only, still the risk of death rate is quite high. Without treatment, it is not going to save.
So this amphotericin B, you were just talking about it. is this drug already there in the market, or is this a new drug? Because we often hear that there is short supply of this drug. So
unlike the new COVID medications which are right now available to treat COVID-19 disease, this amphotericin B is there for ages.
okay,
We have treated mucormycosis before the COVID disease also.
okay,
Amphotericin B is the drug of choice for treating this fungal infection and some other fungal infections also. It is there, we have used it now because there is a sudden rise in the demand. There is a mismatch with the supply demand chain. There is suddenly huge 11,000 numbers. Otherwise, we used to treat around 3 or 4 in 1 year.
oh my god.
Okay, so the numbers used to be very less. So now we are seeing around 11,000 cases in our country. So naturally, it cannot suddenly cope up with a huge surge in the demand, the production. So that's why we are facing the brunt of decreased or non-availability of amphotericin B. That is adding more fuel to this deadly fungal infection. With a good, aggressive early treatment only, this disease can be lethal. Imagine that without proper medication, how the situation could be.
So the outcome is lethal.
Outcome is
Both of the
lethal
drugs.
without treatment. With treatment, there is a higher chance of death rate as compared to other routine infections.
Then how do we prevent black fungus infection?
Okay. So prevention is always important than cure, applies to everything, more so for mucormycosis because as I just narrated, it is a lethal disease. Controlling sugars, judicious use of steroids, do not extend the duration of steroids, judicious use of antibiotics, and hygiene. So these are the important things, and early diagnosis and early referral to a center which deals with this, because every center in our country cannot deal with this.
Okay.
So you need specialist doctors, ENT surgeons, you need an operation theatre, you need anesthetists, you need physicians, you need intensive care specialists. So all the multi-system group of doctors are required to treat this. So every small center cannot handle this. But the small center, what they can do, what can help us is early identification and referring them at the earliest so that it can be treated. But it is a lethal disease, unfortunately.
So what is white fungus?
See, white fungus is again a misnomer. Unnecessarily, a color is given to a fungus. Basically, Candida infection is one of the commonly found fungus which we commonly encounter. Having said that, all these infections are quite common in an immunocompromised, means a person with a low immunity, low defense mechanism. In those only, these infections are very common. And this Candida infection causes white patches inside the mouth, inside the throat, inside the food pipe. So because, and it sometimes causes some curdy like just white like things in the oral cavity. So the moment you look at it, you come to know that yes, probably it's a Candida infection. Just because it is giving rise to some manifestations which appear white, I cannot label this fungus as white fungus. A fungus should not be labeled as something with some color based on so many other things. A fungus has its name, and it should not, the nomenclature should not be, made wrong or made incorrect because of this. Okay, and there is a rumor in the society that all this white fungus, yellow fungus, red fungus, and so many other colors which are probably going to come into the picture are different varieties of mucormycosis. No. They are not mucormycosis, and whatever literature you search with respect to only white fungus, you do not get any proper organism as to what is the causative organism, causative fungus for this. Okay, it is just a misnomer. Do not get carried away with this. However, Candida infection is very common. We routinely treat them in all our ICUs. Sometimes they are so common in our own body. For example, in an ICU, a patient on a urine catheter, patient on a ventilator tube. Normally we grow Candida in the culture. In our blood test, in the urine test, we grow Candida. Whenever we grow them in the urine or in the lung secretions, unless it is accompanied by some problem to the patient, we don't even treat it. only when it comes to the blood we treat it. Okay, so when it is there in the normally in our body, so we do not treat it unless there are other supportive evidence, other problems, other complications which are there in the patient, then only we treat it.
Okay.
Okay, so this Candida infection causes white curdy patches. Do not label it as white fungus just because it causes so.
What is the diagnosis for white fungus?
The same diagnosis comes to that, and you take a swab, and unlike the mucormycosis, which does not grow in the blood, Candida grows in the blood.
Okay.
So you can do blood, what is called as blood culture also. You can send any sample from wherever it is, and you send the sample for microscopy. It can detect the Candida. It can be detected in the urine also. It can be detected in the blood also. The respective samples from the urine, respective samples from the blood, if you send to the laboratory, they should be able to identify this. And whenever you send any particular this thing to a laboratory, you give some clinical information for the laboratory guys to have an index of suspicion, so that they are alert and they are looking for this, and becomes easy for them to do this job.
How do we treat white fungus?
As compared to mucormycosis, so-called your black fungus, treating Candida is relatively easy.
Okay.
It has got a certain group of antifungal medications, a basic group and an advanced group. Okay, so we have got effective antibiotics, and those antifungals, they are in sufficient numbers right now. We do not have any shortage, unlike amphotericin, and it is not as lethal as mucormycosis. Whenever this Candida affects the blood and it goes into the blood, at that point of time it can be lethal, but its lethality is definitely less as compared to the mucormycosis. We have good drugs and good results also. Most of these people recover well, unless they are heavily immunocompromised.
Okay.
Okay, then only they do not do well. Otherwise, they have a better result. Definitely far better if you compare with mucormycosis.
What is yellow fungus?
Again, this yellow fungus is a misnomer. There is a Latin word by name flavus.
Okay.
Flavus meaning yellow. That flavus, depending on the organism, a name is given. For example, there is an entity called yellow fever in Africa.
Correct.
You must have seen many people traveling to Africa. They come to us, I need a yellow fever vaccination.
Yes.
Because the causative organism name is Flavivirus fibricus.
Okay.
The name flavus in Latin means yellow. So in that context, it got the name.
Okay.
So now one of these species, what is called as Aspergillosis flavus, the flavus again itself is, the meaning of this is yellow. In that context, this is being unfortunately labeled as yellow. I really do not know whether they have labeled this as yellow or they have labeled one of the mucormycosis species only as yellow. I do not know whoever has labeled this, but do not label like this. But if you take into this meaning, actual meaning, one of the species is called Aspergillus flavus and the flavus meaning is yellow.
What are the diagnoses?
It also affects in an immunocompromised patient only. All these fungi predominantly affect us whenever our immunity is low.
Okay.
It usually affects the lung and it gives rise to fungal infection, pneumonia, and also whenever our lung is previously compromised, affected by tuberculosis or some other diseases, there are formation of cavities in the lungs. All this, especially this Aspergillosis fungus, comes and sits into the cavities and giving rise to cough, sometimes blood in the cough. All those things can get manifested, and they also, affect other organs through the blood. They affect the kidneys, they affect our lungs, they affect our reproductive system, they affect our urogenital system. So they can affect all these organs, causing internal damage, and they can also be lethal. But they are not as lethal as mucormycosis.
And how do we treat this?
We can treat them with the antifungal medications. And whenever there is a compromise with respect to, let us say, a person's lung is badly compromised because of tuberculosis, a cavity is there, sometimes a surgery is required. Unlike in mucormycosis, a surgery is invariably required. Here, it is an additional thing. If at all these conditions are met, these underlying conditions are there, then only the surgery is required, especially with respect to Aspergillosis, so-called yellow. Otherwise, they can be easily treated with available good antifungal medications what we have. They can also be lethal, because the Western community in the COVID pandemic, The fungal infections, what they are seeing is predominantly candidiasis and aspergillosis. What we are seeing here is predominantly mucormycosis.
Okay.
So they are treatable. They can be lethal, but not as lethal as mucormycosis.
Now, the most commonly asked question is this fungal infection contagious?
Fortunately, no.
Thank God.
Unlike the COVID-19 disease, which is highly contagious, especially the second wave, all these fungal infections are non-contagious. It does not get transmitted from a person to person.
By touch or fluid?
No. So, whenever some people who have recovered from the COVID and now they have this fungal infection, a family member can safely be with the patient to treat. Because these fungal infections do not get transmitted from one person to another person.
But are they lethal?
They are lethal. They are lethal. They can be lethal.
Now, another most common question today. Can they affect non-COVID patients?
Absolutely, absolutely. See, this mucormycosis is very much there, was very much there even before the onset of COVID pandemic. But it used to affect only, as I narrated, poorly controlled diabetic people only who are immunocompromised. Having said that, we have been treating in our hospitals, in our ICUs, n number of immunocompromised patients. We deal with transplant recipients, we deal with a lot of uncontrolled sugar patients, we deal with cancer patients, we deal with a lot of patients who have a low defense mechanism. But we never saw mucormycosis at such an alarming number.
Correct.
So it is very, very difficult and hard to digest that we have been, dealing with steroids. We have been dealing with all these deadly immunocompromised patients for so many years, but we rarely found mucormycosis. Why it is happening only in the second wave? That few studies have to come, few researches have to come. Those things have to address is the virus itself, because we see with this second deadly wave of pandemic of COVID-19, we see markedly decreased number of what are called as lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are the important first line of defense to any infection. There are two types, one will produce antibodies and one will fight directly with the fungus or the virus. So these numbers are markedly reduced in COVID-19 disease.
Okay.
Whether that itself is the reason or it prepares the platform for all these additional factors to come and have an impact and predispose all our patients to mucormycosis, that really needs to be studied.
Is there any specific diet for patients to be followed? This is a question which has just come in.
No, there is no specific diet. You have to have a healthy, high protein diet, because whenever you come across with a bad infection, bad inflammation, that means what is called as a high catabolic state, wherein you lose energy, you lose muscle, you lose proteins. So in this context, there is no specific restriction of diet as such. You are allowed, only thing, you have diabetes, you follow the diabetic diet. You have particular disease, accordingly you follow that particular disease related diet. For COVID, there is no dietary restriction. On the contrary, if possible, you should eat healthy
and maintain cleanliness.
Maintain hygiene. Also, you should get adequate hydration also, because COVID-19 disease is also associated with a lot of blood clot formation.
Okay.
In addition to the blood thinners, what we give for selected patients, maintaining adequate hydration, maintaining adequate movement of our body within our isolation or even in the hospital mobilization, those things are very, very important.
Okay.
Only thing is, because we use sometimes steroids by mouth, it can give rise to gastritis. Okay, people may not tolerate some medication, people may not tolerate food also. Because of gastritis, probably you may avoid some spicy food. Other than that, for COVID specific, there is no dietetic restriction. You should eat healthy and drink plenty of liquids.
And finally, how do you summarize this?
We have been facing the deadly COVID pandemic second wave, and additional fire is mucormycosis. Do not get carried away by the so many colorful names given to the so many different fungi, but be vigilant about mucormycosis. Do not worry about other two fungi. leave it to the doctors. They should be able to diagnose that at an appropriate time and inform the family about their management. So be alert and control your diabetes, and do not use unnecessary prolonged duration of steroids and high dose of steroids. So, and most important final thing is hygiene, hygiene and hygiene. Whether at home or at the hospital, unless you do not maintain hygiene from a household perspective also, hygiene from medical perspective also. All these humidifiers, sterile water, oxygen, all those things should be maintained in a good hygiene. At the end of the day, it is the hygiene, and do not get exposed to unnecessarily construction material and the sand over there. Whenever you are going there, you should have a protective clothing. So unnecessarily do not get exposed to soil. So these are the organisms, these fungus, they are very common in soil. Okay, they are common in the atmosphere also. So we cannot change the atmosphere. But having said that, as long as the COVID pandemic is there, compulsory wear mask, maintain social distance, and maintain a good hygiene, good control of blood sugar. Steroids is the one important message I would like to give to the community.
So early detection and then seek medical attention as soon as you detect. I think it will help.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
With this, we come to the end of today's session. It was a very interesting session. Thank you. Next week, we will be back with another interesting topic. If you have any comments, if you have any questions or queries, you can leave it in the comment section. Our experts will revert back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.